All right, you guys got your Bible? You got your drink? You got your sandwich? You know, you make your stop off at like, Burger King or something like that. Got a Whopper in one hand, glass of wine in the other.
That sounds real classy.
A Whopper and wine, baby. Yeah. That's how we do it. I like the way Zo does church. Man, I like the way Zo does church. Okay. Let's see. All right, 20. Luke 20. On one of the days while Yeshua was teaching the people in the temple and proclaiming the good news, the ruling Kohanim priests and the Torah scholars, together with the elders, confronted him. They're gonna come like standing up on Jesus, trying to look at Jesus down their nose and stuff like that. Jesus be like, man, you better back up off me. All right, God love you, man. I feel sorry for you. All right. What you guys want today, man? What you got to get off your chest today, man? All right. So, and they spoke, saying to him, tell us by what authority are you doing these things, or who is the one who gave you the authority? All right. It's the same as you, but, okay. What's the matter me? What's the matter you? All right, that was my little, we had pizza today, so I'm still feeling a little bit Italian. But answering, Yeshua said to them, I also will ask you a question. What is that? Oh, yeah. Quid pro quo case. I'll ask you things, you ask me things. I'll tell you things, you tell me things. You know how it is. All right. But answering, Yeshua said, okay, I will ask you a question, you tell me. The immersion of John, was it from heaven or from men? I'll wait. They reasoned among themselves, saying, if we say from heaven, he will say, why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, then all the people will stone us because they are convinced that John is a prophet. Okay, so check this out. I mean, even right there, y'all, Jesus hit him with a question that is so to the bone. I mean, Jesus cut right down to the nitty gritty that they forgot about their question. Their question all of a sudden was like, wait a minute. It's like they didn't pull up and they said, no, none of that, Jesus. None of that, Jesus. We asked you a question. Don't answer our question with a question. They didn't do this. Jesus just knew how to get right down to it, where it's like, damn, we need to think about this. Because plus that there's an audience. And the question that Jesus presented to them had way more weight than the question they asked. So it's like, even for them, it's like, you know what? There's no point of even questioning the question. Now we're going to have to question ourselves. It's like right now you would think they'd still be trying to question Jesus, but they're not. They're not even, they're right down there. They're presenting a question. Oh man, I need to think this over, because at this point, they're not even worried about the crowd, because what they're going to worry about in this next thing is they didn't answer. They don't know where it came from because they don't want the crowd to freak out on them. Yeah. And also the thing is, you know who they're really afraid of? They're afraid of themselves, because they're like, man, if we answer this wrong, it's like, well, what you thinking? What do you think? What do you think? So they're trying to get the safe answer from each other so they don't go up inside each other's head with a brick. Yeah. Right? Because these are some stone happy fools. They like to be throwing bricks at people. Okay, so they're like the crowd. It's like, okay, well, we don't want the crowd to jump on us, but you know what? I don't want you to, to sucker punch me with a brick either. So they're like, okay, well, if we say, here's their reasoning. They start reasoning among themselves, saying, if we say from heaven, he will say, well, why didn't you believe him? Why didn't you believe John? If your answer is that this baptism, when John baptized me, when he baptized me, when this baptism came from heaven, and when the Lord opened up and lighted on my, came, little Mr. Bluebird on my shoulder. In this case, it was White Dove, but you know what I'm talking about, all right? He came in and said, this is my son with whom I'm well pleased. It's like, well, was that from men or was that from heaven? And if you're going to answer if it was from heaven, well, why didn't you believe him? Why are you still going around? Why are you still challenging me? Why don't you see the big picture right now? Wow. So then from there, and the thing is, y'all, they knew the questions to ask. So let me see. Now they're asking it. They're knowing. They know the importance of the question. Why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, then all the people will stone us because they are convinced that John is a prophet. So it's like it's like we can't get this wrong. We can't get this wrong. It's we can't just say that it was just some ordinary man out there baptizing people and baptizing this one that they call Messiah, because these people are pretty much sold.
Yeah.
So we better get this right. And you know what? We're just gonna opt for option C. See ya. Yeah, they don't know. They just say it. It's like, you know what? We really don't know. And the thing is, now listen to Jesus' response to them. And Yeshua said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. I'm not going to tell you. You guys aren't telling me because you don't know. You do know.
Wow.
You know what the deal is. And that's why my response to you is I will not tell you. You guys are telling me you don't know. You know. You know the answer. You're just refusing to tell me. So I will refuse to tell you. Two can play that game.
Wow.
Yeshua said, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. It's over your heads, y'all. That stone won't be over your head, though, but you guys start throwing bricks at each other. You guys got good aim when it comes to that. All right? Then he began to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, leased it to tenant farmers, and went on a journey for a long time. Did he go to prepare a place for someone? All right. Went on a journey for a long time. And at the season, he sent a servant to the tenants so that they would give him part of the vineyard's fruit. It's like, okay, you know, that could be like a stipulation of the deal. It's like, look, I'll lease this land to you. You can grow stuff on it, and you know, I'll take some of your proceeds. These are your proceeds that I'll take, and a percentage of your crops or whatever it is that you yield. So I'm going to send a servant to go ahead and collect. And that's what I want in exchange for the land that you sow and reap on. All right. So let's see. Where was I, teacher's pet?
Oh, I was taking a drink of water.
That's a fine. Who are you, Marco Rubio?
Yes.
Fine time to be taking a drink of water.
See, you did it too.
Thou shalt not judge. you get that telephone pole out of your own eye before you worried about the splinter in mine.
I think it was 11. I think.
All right. Hey, and it's not water. Melissa might be listening. It's coffee. It's coffee. All right. Let's see.
Scandalous.
A man planted his vineyard, leased it. Okay, and at the season, dang, where was I? Come on now. All right. Oh, wait. Ooh, no. We're gonna get to the good part where they get beat up. All right. This is the part where it starts. Yeah, this is the part where he gets juicy. We can do a movie on this. Like, no, because he gets beat up, he loses. That's not a good martial arts movie. You know, because anybody who comes back, they don't beat him. They don't beat the boss. They don't beat the gang. You know, so this I don't know.
In this one, the good guy gets beaten up.
Yeah, the good guy gets beaten up, but that's not cool. You know, but I mean, it wouldn't be a cool martial arts movie. In the grand scheme of things, when we talk about Jesus, you know, Jesus has to be killed to show that he can, beat up death. True. You know. Jesus he's gonna choke death out. I'm gonna go up into death's house. Yes. Right? I'm gonna step up into death's house. Yeah. I'm gonna choke his behind out, and I'm gonna step over his body back into life. Wow. Bam. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So anyway, so he proceeded to where was he at? He is in me. I'm talking in third person. But the tenants beat him up. Okay, they beat him up and sent him away empty-handed. So he proceeded to send another servant. So we're talking about. The parable's talking about the prophets that have been sent and have been persecuted. Yeah. They beat him up too and treated him shamefully. And they sent him away empty-handed. And he proceeded to send a third one. They wounded this one too. And they threw him out. Now the master of the vineyard said, what shall I do? I will send my son, whom I love. Oh boy. Whom I love, and it's really starting to hit home here. It's like, man, are you really seeing it now? But when the tenants saw him, they discussed that matter. They discussed the matter among themselves, saying, "This is the heir. Let's kill him, so the inheritance will be ours." I mean, this is like a what do you say, a precursor or something like that? Is that the word? To the goose that laid the golden eggs. You know, this is like Aesop's fables before Aesop's fables. Yeah. You know, they figuring that they can go ahead and and kill the master's son and inherit, and take the inheritance. Like, it's like you did the master a favor or something like that, and this is going to somehow put you on his good list. Wow. That's some strange thinking. But No, it don't work that way. And it speaks to a lot of people, y'all, how we are today. Whereas we think that, excuse me, you know, these people, when they did Jesus in, they really thought that they were doing a good thing. Yeah. They thought, you know, they actually thought that this will be make them look righteous to do this blasphemer, whom they actually, it wasn't even so much that they saw him as a blasphemer, they just made him out to be one. Because you'll see in the scriptures that they even said, oh, he was innocent, and we don't want this blood on our hands. They knew he was an innocent man. They knew he wasn't lying. He's just a threat to their power. So, you know, and let's not, you know, this ain't to say, you know, like, you know, this ain't to cause any sort of prejudice against all Jews, because the first church, you know, the first Christians were Jewish. Yep. So, and they got done in, y'all. So, but this right here is these people think that they're actually doing something. Yeah, we're going to do something good, and we're going to, you know, we're going to inherit the favor of God. Or you got people that think that, you know, they can do these things and inherit salvation or whatever it is that they think heaven is. You know, by doing whatever, it's like these things that people do that just spit on Jesus. Yeah. You know, that just breaks his heart, man. It just breaks him down. You know, where people just think that, yeah, I can do this my own way and I'm a good person and whatnot, and stack up merits for themselves and give themselves license to do whatever thing that is ungodly, to whatever degree it is. But they can convince themselves that they were justified and do it and think of themselves as a good person. And y'all, that doesn't work. You know, it's like that's a spit in the eye of Jesus right there. Yeah. So and think that you can still inherit, you know, your idea of heaven.
Well, remember what he said to Saul, why are you persecuting me?
Yeah. You know, it's like, don't think that this stuff that still doesn't bother Jesus. It does. Yeah. All right. So let's see. And we can take the inheritance, and the inheritance will be ours. 15. So they threw him out of the vineyard and they killed him. What then will the master of the vineyards do to them? Wow. So, you know, the Lord says, vengeance is mine. So hippie Jesus is letting y'all know that, yeah, this don't go overlooked. You know, I'm not going to just let this go. It's like, yeah, I forgive you. And I hope that you accept my forgiveness. It's like, listen to this very closely. Listen to this closely. I forgive you. I've done my part. Do you accept the forgiveness? If you don't, we going to fight. That's where Jesus is at. We gonna fight. It's like those who have not forgiven Jesus, those who still overlook Jesus, who still have the same mindset that Jesus isn't who he says he is, and it's not worthy worthy of their faith. When he's given everything, he's given more than anybody has ever given to deserve that, and he hasn't done anything wrong to anybody. And he got punished for it. If people are supportive of the idea of his rejection, Jesus forgives you. But if you don't accept the forgiveness, you got a fight coming. He's coming back to fight. All right? The hippie Jesus. Let's see. He will come. Okay. So they threw him out. What then will the master of the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy those tenants and give the vineyard to others. Now listen, mind you, this is for those who think that we're all predestined and stuff like that. Is you know, that God has already chosen who's going to bring into heaven and stuff like that. By this parable, it shows you that that's not the case. God knowing what we're going to do and God making us to do certain things is two totally different things. That would be, it's like if a person thinks that a person is predestined to sin or predestined to do good things and then go into heaven, y'all, that flies in the face of our individual choices, our free will. It'd be like saying, okay, well, God created Satan to sin. God didn't create Satan to sin. God created Satan with a choice. Yeah. Satan decided to sin. Now, did God know that Satan was going to sin? Yes. Did he make him do it? No. It's a big difference, y'all. Yeah. Knowing that somebody is like, you know, we like with your kids, you know that your kid is prone to do certain things. You know that if your kid follows a certain pattern, he's going to do certain things. Doesn't mean that did you make your kid to be a failure? No. You most likely made your kid to succeed. And you understand if they follow certain patterns, yeah, most likely they will. But, you know, with God, it's like, look, I know what you're going to do. And one of the reasons Adam and Eve, I told you not to eat that fruit, is because I know what y'all are going to do. I know what your descendants are going to do if you eat this fruit. And you don't want to go down that road. I'm telling you, I already know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. You don't want this. Just stick to the rule. Don't eat from that tree. And everybody whom I've ever thought of who will be born in paradise with me. And it'll be all good. Oh. That's how you, me, everybody was supposed to come into existence. We weren't supposed to come into existence with all the problems that we do. God knew that was the other option. Just because he knew that, it's like people, you know, when I see preachers looking for applause line when God says the devil can't do nothing without the Lord's permission. The devil does stuff without the Lord's permission all the time. All the time. That's why he's a rebel. Just because God knew that he was going to do it doesn't mean that God gave him permission to do it.
Oh, that's a good difference, honey. Yeah.
Huge difference, you know? So if God, it's okay, I'm going to give you permission to go and sin against me, and then I'm going to punish you for it. You know what that is, y'all? That is a cosmic case of entrapment.
Yeah.
That would be a gross abuse of the law of God. You know, to say, oh, I'm going to make some people to come to heaven, and I'm going to make you to sin against me and go to hell, and then I'm going to punish you and send you to hell. That's not a just God, y'all. It doesn't work that way. So in basically what I'm saying is, y'all, that came out of this right here, when God is saying that this is who he allowed to be tenants in his yard. This is who he chose. Yeah. Like, this was the vetting process, and hey, I choose you. You go ahead and then after he sent his servants to go collect, they got killed. He goes, well, you know what? I don't choose you anymore. I'm going to choose these people. Yeah. They weren't chosen initially. It's telling you right here in the parable, he chose someone else.
Yeah. Wow.
So y'all, don't get it. And by the way, and really, even with all what I'm trying to say, and like I said, y'all, as long as we hear the word of God first, you know, I may have my opinions on it, but we hear the word of God first. But the whole predestined thing doesn't work when it comes down to John 3:16, you know? You know, when we talk about calling on the word of God and being saved, you know, just to paraphrase, just to break it down, you know, whosoever, you can make the choice. We have the choice in it. All right? Wow. So let's not get caught up in the predestined thing, because, you know, it's trying to make God, you know, all powerful in our own minds. It's not a compliment to God.
Yeah, it really brings him down to our level.
Yeah. Don't try to put God in a box like that. All right. Let's see. Anyway, let me get back to it. 16. He will come and fight. He will come and destroy those tenants and give the vineyard to others. Actually, what is our kung fu fight scene right there? Yeah. The master comes up. Doom, 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 doom. You have mistreated my servants. I am displeased. I will take your gardening tools, and I will whoop your behind with them. Right? All right. Mortal Kombat, or in this case, Immortal Kombat. Oh boy. Yeah. All right. Then Yeshua but when they heard this, they said, may it never happen. I reckon this is the crowd saying this. Yeah. Right? May it never happen. And Jesus looked right at them and said, then what is this that has been written? The stone which the builders rejected. This has become the chief cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be shattered. But upon the one upon whom it falls, it will crush him. So you don't want to be trying to be like all high and mighty and stuff like that, thinking that, you know, you're so pious and righteous and whatnot, and then you end up, you know, finding out the hard way that you were falling the whole time because you exalted yourself. The Lord says those who exalt themselves will be humble. You got to just like you know, bigger they are, the harder they fall. You're gonna fall on that Jesus rock, and you will be shattered. Trying to think that, you know, your head is up there and you're all righteous and whatnot. And at the same time, you don't want that cornerstone to fall on you either. You don't be crushed by it. You know, you're thinking that, you know, it's just one way or the other. You know, people like, because you got people who may judge themselves to be very lofty, very, very, you know, and you may have those who try to, on the other side of it, you have those who try to make themselves more humble than they already are. And I mean, they'll do like really self-righteous things. And you know, one of the things that I bring up often is people who do things like there's a culture where they walk around and they like whip themselves. Okay, they're whipping themselves and stuff, and they'll even go through they'll go through crucifixions. They'll actually nail themselves to crosses, trying to show how humble and submitted to Christ that they are. And Christ's like, oh, you missed it. You missed it. This is a gross misinterpretation of what I've been telling you.
Yeah.
This ain't it. This ain't it. Who you gonna help up on that cross? You ain't me. Okay, it's like there's nothing that you can solve. It's like, man, you trying to outdo me or something? This ain't no homage to me. Who can you help? You got both your hands nailed to a cross. Wow. Before I went to that cross, man, I used these hands. I was healing people. All right, I was feeding people. Yeah. That's what I used these hands for. I was out there doing stuff. I wasn't, I was actually, defeating the things that plague man. And then, when I got up on that cross, I took that wounded hand off that cross and I slapped the devil in the mouth with it. That's what I did. Okay? I was able to do that. Yes. So, but you're not me. So, let's not get it twisted. So people can actually, those who think that they're way up here, trying to be way up here, they got a long way to fall. They're going to get smashed on that rock, trying to act all righteous. And you got those who are trying to be like all humble and doing these things and depriving themselves of things and aren't really, being a help to people. Or I'll give you another example. When you have people who, like artists, when an artist is like, no, my art is a labor of love. And, I don't think it's right to make money for my art and stuff like that. It's like, well, that's not really helping people. If people are appreciating your art and you can make money doing it, you'll actually be more of a blessing to do it. It may come to a point where more people want to invest in your art. Then you can hire people.
Yes.
Hey, you give somebody a job. Yeah. And you're blessing people that way. And it's like you can grow your little empire right there. And that really blesses people more than, you just, suffering for your craft. It's like, of course, doing something, creative, that's what you want to be driven by, y'all. But it's nothing wrong with having the motivation to make income. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. If you're doing it solely for the income, then yeah, you've idolized the income. But at the same time, if you're thinking that, oh, I just do it for the art, and you're like, struggling to do it, well, then that means that art has become your idol too. So a lot of people they do one or the other. So, but if you have God as your filter and you're using your gifts for Him, well, He filters that out and helps you to balance out doing it, for your artistic enjoyment and for the artistic enjoyment of others who enjoy your work, and doing it for money to where you can bless other people, But if you're just one of those who are just like, oh, I'm an artist and I have all my integrity and I'm just doing it out of labor of love, and, and you're struggling and you're not able to, use your talent, your God-given talent to, help other people who may be struggling up behind you, well, then that rock is going to fall on you, trying to play the whole humble role. Because there are some Christians who are like that too. Oh no, I don't use my gifts for money and stuff like that. Well, you're not really helping anybody. It's sorry. It's like maybe it may kind of give like a little bit of enjoyment to people, which is cool and stuff like that. But when you really consider what you could do with your craft, and you don't take the opportunity to do it, it's not really that's not really doing what the Lord gave you justice. Yeah. Let's see. Everyone who fought, 19. The Torah scholars and the ruling Kohanim tried to grab him that very hour. Trying to manhandle Jesus. Yeah. Because they realized that he spoke this parable against them, but they feared the people. 20. Now they watched him. And sent spies. Check this out. This is funny. I think this is funny. Now they watched him and sent spies who pretended to be righteous in order to trap him in his words so they could hand him over to the power and authority of the governor. It's like, okay, so y'all didn't happen to notice. I'm talking about these cats who was getting together to, conspiring against Jesus. It's like, y'all didn't happen to notice that you are going to pretend to be righteous. Y'all didn't catch that pretend thing. It's like you guys are admitting to yourselves that you are dishonest. Oh my goodness. The spies that you're sending out and yourselves. You high priests of righteousness are actually sitting there discussing. It's like you guys were doing takia before takia was cool, you know,
Yeah.
which takia is not cool, but you know what I'm saying. Even before Islam was doing takia, you had the Sanhedrin here, you know, justifying being dishonest so they could have somebody murdered, you know, so they could advance, so they can keep their power while getting people's minds off the kingdom. So their work was detrimental. Their work was toxic, what they were doing. They were lying for an ill purpose. Yeah. Now, to them, they were doing the right thing. The ends justifies the means. It's okay for us to lie. It's okay for us to send out these lying spies so that we can catch Jesus and have him killed. So, you know, that's it's like you look at them and say, how do you guys didn't catch that? You know, but no, they didn't. I hope you caught it, though. Let's see. And so they can hand him over to the power, to the authority of the governor. And they asked him, saying, "Teacher, we know that you tell it to, we know you're a straight shooter. We know that, Jesus. You know, we think you're a pretty honorable guy, a respectable guy, and
flattery. And
you teach it straight. You show no partiality, but teach the way of God according to the truth." Now it's like Jesus, like looking at him sideways, like. Man, you can stop patronizing me at any time now, man. You know, it's like, look, giving people a compliment is a good thing, you know, but flattering somebody, for, you know, to basically to fatten up their head for the slaughter is something else, you know. Jesus don't dig that. Ooh, jets. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Where we at? The jets were distracting me. King shot out his jet fighters.
Oh.
Pew, pew. Said you better earn your pay. Drop the bombs between the riverets. Pew, pew. Okay. Down the Casbah way. All right, sorry. Okay. All right. But teach. Okay. Now, is it? Then they go on to ask him at 22. Is it permitted for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Now, y'all, they know. they know collecting taxes, collecting tribute is wrong. Why do you think the tax collectors are called sinners? They know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. But they're asking, it's like, so even today, you know, when we're looking at, when people are like, well, you got to pay your taxes. Like, actually, yeah, there's a certain set of taxes that we pay, but income tax ain't one of them. We're not supposed to be paying tribute to the government. We're not supposed to be doing that. Right? So the tax collector, the IRS, evil. They be coming in and taking your fruits. Yep. It's a violation of your right to property. Yep. It's unfortunate. It's sad that we still stand for that. It is. Straight up violation of your property. Come in and take the fruits of your labor. We have we have a tax model. Yep. And included in that tax model, it's not supposed to target your income. So, but in here, they're saying, is it permitted for us to pay taxes to Caesar? And the socialist type, selective Christians, or the Christians who are of the socialist variety, they like to lean on this verse, or even the secularists. They even your Bible says that, you know, you're supposed to render unto Caesar what is Caesar. That's not what that means. All right, I'll show you. And many of y'all have heard me talk about this before. I'll show you again. Is it permitted for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But carefully considering their treachery, Yeshua said to them, show me a denarius. Jesus is going to answer their question quite directly. Show me a denarius. Okay, they give him the coin. Now he asked them, whose image and inscription does it have? All right. Y'all, what he's pointing out to them is the hypocrisy of idolatry. This is a violation of the commandments. It's an engraven image. False God. Because the inscription says, worshipful son of the god Augustus. The god. This is idolatry, and Jesus is calling them on it. Wow. This has nothing to do with us submitting our taxes to the state. That's not what it is. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar, render unto God what is God. That's not what that means. Jesus is calling them out for hypocrisy. He's calling them out for idolatry. Paying tribute to an oppressive heathen. You think this pleases Jesus? No. And it's like, if this is the son of the worshipful God Augustus, this on this coin, this is the son of God.
Oh my!
You're paying tribute to this fake who's claiming to be the son of God. Then who am I? You would rather worship this image right here, right? You would rather pay tribute to this image right here than to me. Like, okay, I got you. I got you. So, no, y'all, this is, so, you know, people talk about, you know, Jesus paid his taxes. Jesus paid a temple tax. Jesus didn't pay a state tax. Big difference, y'all. Big difference. Jesus had his own privatized health care. Okay? He fed the poor out of his own resources.
Yes.
Right? So healing people, it's like he didn't say the government has to do this. No, he was doing it on his own. Then he charged people. It's like, you help the poor out of your own sense of charity, not making it a law. Once you've made it a law, you've missed the point.
Yes.
Now all you've done is you've institutionalized theft and justified theft. Well, I'm going to steal from you because we're going to give it to these people, like you know, like the gross misreading of like Robin Hood or something like that. It's like, no, you got it wrong. You got it way wrong. That's not what this means. So when he says render under Caesar, what do you? And if some translations say render back under Caesar. But render under Caesar, what does that mean? Caesar doesn't deserve anything. If Caesar wants something, he can get it by the excises. He can get it by the imposts. He can get it, you know, through imports and stuff like that. But coming to tax your labor, to tax your fruits, that's not the way you're supposed to collect. Doesn't work that way. Wow. You're just stealing from people. So render under God what is God's means, well, everything belongs to God.
Yeah, what isn't God's?
Yeah, what isn't his? Submit your gratitude. God, thank you. Everything I have is yours. It's all created by you. You recognize God. You look beyond Caesar. You be obedient to good law.
Amen.
Because, you know, I know some pastors be like, you have to submit to authority. The Bible says submit to authority. No, you're getting that wrong. Because if you're going to submit to authority, then that means that the Jews never had any business calling out to God. When God it's like, because sometimes, you know, Israel, they would get way out there, man, and they would end up, you know, being subjugated by, you know, other nations. And if we're supposed to hold true to submitting to authority, then that's all they should have just done. Well, we're under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar now, or we're under the rule of the Canaanites, or whomever they'd be under the rule of. You know, sorry, I don't have all my notes who they were under the rule of, because there's so many.
So many.
Right? This happens, you know, happened quite a bit. So, you know, when if that's the case, then they just should have stayed there. Because calling out to God was a violation. So, you know, you don't call out to your God. Your God ain't got nothing to do. You do what we tell you to do, not what your God tells you to do. So how do we square that? It's like, yeah, actually, if you have a government that's oppressive, if you have a government that is trying to make man live by bad laws, you do have the right to speak out against your government. Jesus said, make peace where it is possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you're going to have people that want to make us live by bad laws, and you do have to speak out against them. You think God's going to be pleased if with the freedom that he blessed us with and we let it get voted away? That's not how it works. But you have to know the difference between good law and bad law. And if you are under good law, don't question it and just live by it. You know, that's and if law is bad, it's like, yeah, it's like, how does the saying go? Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Yeah. You know, yeah, that's real. We're not supposed to submit to the laws of men. If we have a republic where the rule of law is good, you have to be submitted to that law. We are to be submitted to good law, not break it and not question it. But if the law is bad, yeah, question it.
And cry out.
Yeah, cry out to God and say, hey, Lord, we need to be up from under this. Guide us in how to change this. And hopefully we can change this without it becoming a bloody mess. Yeah. Let's see. They said Caesar's. All right. 25. Then he said to them, well, then go give Caesar's the things that are Caesar's, and to God things that are God's. And they could not trap him in his words in the presence of the people, astonished by his answer. They just kept quiet. We ain't gonna say nothing. Then some of the Sadducees, these dudes, who deny there is a resurrection. The Sadducees, they were like a weird type. You know, it's like they're supposed to be some spiritual authority, but they don't believe in, you know, spirituality or something like that. They don't believe in angels. Yeah, you can't have a relationship with God. I mean, I guess they believe in God or something like that, but you can't ever really know him. And he's like this, he's God's like a full-on absentee landlord or something like that. He just created us, it doesn't have anything to do with us. But maybe like gave us like a rule book for us to go by, and they're part of like upholding this law that, you know, I don't know. You know, Sadducees are just like a weird thing, you know. So they deny the resurrection, and they came and they questioned Yeshua. Teacher, they said, Moses wrote for us that if a man brother dies, having a wife, but no children, then his brother should take the widow and father children for his brother. Now, there were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died childless, and the second and the third took her. But in the same way, each of the 7 brothers died and left no children. Finally, the woman died too. So in the resurrection, whose wife is she? For all 7 had married her. We'll wait. Jesus like, quit singing the Jeopardy song. Nancy, you right now. All right. So the Sadducees, remember, like these guys they're very legalistic. And notice in this this discussion of marriage, there's no talk of love. And this is where they're missing the point. Jesus is like, you know, are you getting it, man? You guys are talking about marriage, but you're not even talking about love. You're not even talking about love, man. Everything you're talking about it's all legalistic.
Yeah.
It's all legalism. And that's why you don't get the kingdom. You don't seem to understand that in the kingdom, man, the law is love. That's what makes this work.
Yes.
When we live in the kingdom, y'all, you're going to have neighbors that ain't going to do you dirty because they love you, not because it's the law.
Hallelujah. Right?
Ain't going to be trying to steal from you, ain't going to be coveting your stuff. You know, you ain't gonna have like neighbors, you know, with kids cussing out their parents and stuff like that. It's gonna be honor the father and the mother and stuff like that. You yelling all night and stuff like that because the family don't get along. You know, you ain't gonna have this like, you know, it's neighbors like eyeballing each other's spouse and stuff like that, not coveting each other's spouse. You know, you'd be able to go to work and know that your spouse is acting right and all that sort of stuff. That's heaven, man. It's, you know, it's all good. It's all in love. Not because people are worried about breaking the law or worried about they going to get caught or anything like that. That's stress, man. That kills. Stress is a killer, you know?
Yeah.
So that stuff don't exist in heaven. But these guys, they didn't even talk about love. They're talking about legalism. You know, and it's like, what? You ain't going to do something just because the law says not to? No, it should just be in your heart to have respect and love for your neighbor that you won't do these things. Okay? So let me see where we at. And then we get to...
34.
Finally, okay, Yeshua said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage. Okay, so now, you know, you got some who, once again, you got some people who are like be cherry picking scripture and think that Jesus has a stigma on marriage. It's like, no, God created marriage, y'all. There's nothing wrong with marriage. There's nothing wrong with sex in the confines that God put it in. And people are like, you know, Jesus was born without sin because there was no sex involved. It's like, dude, they were betrothed, okay? If they had sex, you know, this man and wife had sex, that wouldn't be a sin. Is that okay? It's like, let's be clear about this. It has nothing to do with sin as far as Jesus being born or him being sinless. That wasn't the key. The key is that we can only reproduce after our own kind. Okay? A man and a woman can only produce a boy or girl. That's it. That's what we could reproduce after our own kind. Man cannot reproduce God. Yeah. That's why man was not involved in the birth of God, in the conception of God, because we can't reproduce God. That's why. So in this right here, you know, we think that there's some sort of stigma attached with marriage because Jesus says no. When you go into marriage and you start idolizing each other, that's the problem. When you look for your spouse to complete you, it ain't your job. It ain't your spouse's job to complete you. You're to become one flesh, but who's the glue? God.
Amen.
It's God who completes us. You know, but to put the burden on, oh, you have to complete me, and if you don't do that, you're gonna have problems because people be looking for people to complete them. It's like, no, it don't work that way. We're social creatures. We're made to be social creatures. We're made to fellowship, but fellowship there's a foundation of it, though. There's a foundation of fellowship. The foundation of fellowship is faith, faith in God. So, you know, this right here, this isn't a stigma against marriage. People be getting married and they try to take God out of it, and they end up divorced, unhappy and stuff like that. Hey, even Christians too, it happens. You know, sometimes, you know, Christians even with each other, they're not complete themselves because they're not really, you know, they haven't really read the Word of God. Yeah. You know, and they're not reading the Word of God together. Yes. You know, it happens. And who knows? Who knows? Hey, the devil gets in, y'all. Yep. Even in the Garden of God, the devil got in.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so it's like, you know, none of us are immune, but that's the world. And the Lord has gone to prepare a place for us where that stuff doesn't exist anymore. Don't you want to be there? I do. You know, I love to quote C.S. Lewis, man, when he's talking, when you got a hankering for something, that's because there's something to facilitate that need. You got to feel the need to breathe, that's because there's air. You got to feel the need to eat, because there's food. You got to feel the need to live with your spouse forever in perfect, just where you guys just, you know, baby, I got you, girl. You know, I'm with you. You know, just where it's just y'all on the same page. Man, people be wanting that. And it exists. It is in that place that the Lord is going to prepare for us. We can't make that place. We can't do it. We got to leave that to the professional. Right? He can do it. Let's see. The sons of this age. So, marriage. Now, the sons of this age marry and are given into marriage. And also, when you leave God out of marriage, you get perversions of marriage. Okay? Yes. You get gay marriage. You know, you get these things that are unnatural. So these are the things that Jesus is saying. That's what the problem is that he has with, you know, people just marrying and giving into marriage. They leave him out of it. Yeah. The sons of let's see. But those considered worthy to reach the Olam Haba. And the question is, well, who is considered worthy? Well, the ones who consider him worthy. That's
nicely said.
Okay, it's that simple.
Wow.
You know, when people think that, well, what do I have to do to be worthy of God? Say that God is worthy of you. You know, it's like God is worthy to be my king. I recognize what he's done. I accept it. I accept his gift. Now, there you go. You're worthy. All right? Yeah. Now, then for there, act like you appreciate it.
Yes.
Let's see. Now, worthy to reach the Olam Haba and the resurrection of the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. And now this is where folks like really come after me because of like my story. I hope you guys check out my book, The Flood Chronicles. Hey, go to my website, look under books, download the book. Right? It's a fun, exciting story, sci-fi story based on the story of Noah, and it's a fun way to convey, you know, an engaging way, you know, that answers questions that people have, like, you know, why does God do this and why does God allow that and things like that. Check it out, y'all. Support. Dang it. You know, I give you guys things to like check out rather than just passing out a collection plate or like put like a gif of like a tip jar up on my website, be like that. You know, put drop some. No, I give you guys some interesting things to spend money on.
Try to provide good value for their money.
Thank you. You know, some support. You know, us trying to get the salt and light out there. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's see. Now, but that being said, people talk about well. So Jesus says that, there will be no marriage in heaven. And the son, and Jesus says that the angels don't marry, that we'll be like the angels. Like in Matthew, it says pretty much, says specifically that they will not marry or be given into marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. So by that, they take it as angels do not marry, because Jesus says that angels do not marry. Y'all, that's not what that means, right? In Matthew, reflect on what he says. When the Sadducees, in Matthew's account of this engagement with the Pharisees, with the Sadducees, Jesus says, you do not know the scriptures and you do not know the power of God. Now, when Jesus says that they didn't know the scriptures, you know how Jesus rolls. Jesus backs up what he says. Yep. If Jesus is going to say something, he's either done it already or he's going to prove it. Yeah. In this engagement right here, when they try to get him with this, who are they going to marry stuff, Jesus hits them hard. He says angels in heaven. He gives what, because you just read, they're always trying to trap him, y'all.
Yeah.
They're always trying to trap him. So Jesus calls them on it. It's like, okay, you want to trap me? Watch this. You don't know the scriptures of the power of God. He's like, okay, well, you know what? Angels don't marry. And they let him go. Jesus gave them a free shot. You guys could have called me out for fraud right here, because if you look in Genesis 6:2, and one of the most famous stories in the Bible, the story of Noah, you find that angels do marry. They could have called Jesus out right there and said, you're a fake. Angels do marry, but they didn't know the scriptures, just like he said he didn't. They didn't know the scriptures, and Jesus called them on it. Hey? So it's not a point of saying, it's like people say, well, there's not going to be a marriage. No, God said that it's not good for man to be alone. And in the Garden of God, Adam and Eve were married. So it's like, why is that there's this idea that somehow marriage is like this sinful thing that God detests and will not allow? Well, we're going to be with God. We're going to be God. Didn't you hear what I just said? God said it's not good for man to be alone, even when he was with God.
Wow.
Right? So, let's stop trying to put our holy ideas of piety and stuff like that on what God does, and just taking these little chunks of scriptures and thinking that something is bad without squaring it by scripture that says, no, that's not what God, is saying to you. And also, when it comes down to, because Jesus really focused on the resurrection here. He's really focused on when he said, when the dead rise, where we at? Let me see, 34. Yeshua said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given into marriage, but those considered worthy to reach the Olam Haba and the resurrection of the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. For they can no longer die, because they are like the angels and are sons of God. Remember, sons of God are only mentioned if you are in favor with God. So the sons of God in Genesis, they were not demons and they were not fallen angels. Sons of God are angels that are in God's favor. Come on, y'all. Stay with me. So right here, because they are like angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. So when Jesus says the dead will rise, okay, when this rapture happens, when the dead rise, they're not going to be made to marry, and because that's going to be awkward. That wouldn't be heavenly. Let's say, for instance, if a spouse had passed and they're dead, and the surviving spouse, as they've moved on and maybe remarried or something like that, well, it's going to be awkward for the person to raise up and say, oh, time to you have to reinstate your vows, and strip them away from the other person upon the resurrection, and those who are alive in Christ rise. That's going to be an awkward situation. Yeah. God has that worked out. And notice, also that kind of reminds me of what was said here earlier. Remember how I was saying that the Sadducees were being all legalistic about this? It's like this woman most likely probably wasn't really in love with the first person, because the marriages were arranged. You know how we feel about arranged marriages, right? We want to marry the person that we choose. We want to choose who we're going to spend the rest of our life with. Not an arranged marriage. Yeah. And so Jesus is like saying people won't be given into marriage, because that wouldn't be heaven. To not choose who you get to be married to. It's like God's like, no, man, you get to choose. So then when you have the dead that are rising, it's like you can't strip that person away if they might have moved on. And each one of these 7 people is like, well, whose wife is she going to be? She probably didn't love any of them. It was only out of a legality that she married the succession of brothers. Right. And the brothers probably didn't love her.
Yeah, it was all legal.
It was all legal, no love. And that's where God is like saying, see, you don't understand how the kingdom works. The kingdom works by love. You guys are trying to make it all legal. So this is one of the things that God is trying to get away from. And I also want to try to really quick spell out the picture that God is, when he's talking about the resurrection, he's talking about the angels and stuff like that. Y'all remember, there's a judgment coming, and before the judgment, people are removed. All right. Now, when let's take Enoch for instance. Enoch was flashed north. He was pulled away from the earth in a flash. When you look up the word and how Enoch was taken, when it says he was taken quickly. He was married into the kingdom, because that's also what Lauk means. It means a marriage. Okay. He was brought up. He became one with the kingdom. Now, when the sons of God, when they came and they took the women that they chose, they used the same word that is described for what happened with Enoch. These women were snatched up. They were married in a flash. They just came and they got them. And then the judgment came. They came and they took their brides before the judgment came. This is a picture of Christ who is going to come and take his bride in a flash before the judgment comes. It's like he's pulling out this picture for them. It's like, y'all, this has happened before. It's going to happen again. You had the sons of God who came to get their brides. You got the Son of God who's going to come and get his bride. It's like, come on, y'all, make this. But you guys don't know the scriptures. And you don't know the power of God. That's why you're not. It's like, that's why Jesus is telling you, you're not getting this.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So now, 36. Okay. For they can no longer die because they are like angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But at the burning bush, even Moses revealed that the dead are raised. The dead are raised when he calls Adonai the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Now he is God not of the dead, but of the living. For to him they are all living.
Wow.
Right? So I think that's really heavy, y'all. To me, that's really heavy. Okay?
Yeah.
So God, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know why I'm their God? Because they're living. I am the God of the living, not the God of the dead. Right?
That's awesome.
It's like, because I know that you guys want to brag about being the children of Abraham, even you Sadducees. Right? If you're going to be the children of Abraham, you need to understand Abraham is alive.
Yeah.
All right. Some of the Torah scholars replied, "Teacher, you have said it well. I can dig it, man." For they no longer dared to question him about anything. We're just going to, all right, you have a nice day, Jesus. Then Yeshua said to them, "How can they say that the Messiah is Ben David, or son of David? For David himself says in the book of Psalms, Adonai said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet." David then calls him Lord. So how is he his son? All right, so there's like a time paradox that's going on here. It's like, you know that the Messiah, it's like, well, who do you expect the Messiah to be? The Messiah's got to be the son of who? All right, so we're looking at David. It's like, he's like, but wait a minute. How is he going to call the Messiah his Lord? So we got on the front side of David, we got on the back side of David.
Yeah.
All right, so it's like you guys aren't making a connection. Are you guys like, so are you really that steeped in being suspicious? It's like, I don't even know if that's what it's about. I think you guys just don't want to lose your power. Yeah. You idolize your power is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Let's see. 45. Then with all the people listening, Yeshua said to the disciples, "Beware of the Torah scholars who like to talk around in long robes." Look at my robe, my long robe of righteousness. Isn't it righteous? Isn't it righteous, bruh? Like that? All right.
Robe of righteousness.
This robe of righteousness. My righteous robe. They love greetings in the marketplaces, the best seats in the synagogues. I guess that's why I always, like for me, and I'm not trying to, forgive me if it sounds like I'm backpatting. That's why people be like pastors. So that's flattering. I'm like, not pastor. Not Reverend Rachel or anything like that. I'm a student along with it. I just host this so we can get it here, and I'm just sharing my studies with you. I jokingly say like teacher's pet when I talk about my woman over here, just because I like the idea of keeping her for detention.
Oh, honey.
But but
I gotta cause trouble.
Yeah, I'm cause you some trouble. All right, but I'm just sharing my studies with you guys. And it's Sunday night story time.
Yeah.
All right. And say the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at feasts. They devour widows' houses, and make long prayers at a show. These men will receive greater condemnation. Let me see. Now, what was that? What was that rule? Oh man. What was that rule? It had something to do with the parents, where you couldn't give between giving to the temple and giving to their parents.
Oh, Corbin?
Corbin! Right? So without that, the widow like had no protection.
Right.
And they could just come and it's like they can go ahead and seize their property. Right? So in here, there's a rule for that. It's, if you guys, been a long time since I studied up on that. Forgive me. You can check it out, Corbin, the Corbin law, and you know. But this leaves the widows like susceptible, I would reckon, to hey, if they want to come and seize her stuff, you know, they can come and seize her stuff. Let's see, see her houses and make long prayers as a show. It's like these prayers are empty. This is all, you know, and people be talking about that. Look at them, like I've been doing all that church worship and all that, you know, music, which I, you know, don't get me wrong, because I'm all about, you know, the church and Christians making music, make all that sort of stuff. But it's like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know, you're doing it because you want to look awesome, or is it because you're trying to make the Lord look awesome? You know, it's like, believe it or not, you can do it and just, you know, be focused on the Lord. That's what we're trying to do. You know, want to put on that disco, you know, so people want to come in and, you know, and rock out with the Lord. You know, not being so focused on ourselves, and that's what these cats are trying to do. And these men will receive greater condemnation. It's like, dude, what does that mean? And he's like, you know, it's like, okay, is this a suggestion that, you know, well, these people are going to hell? But I mean, what kind of hell are we talking about? I mean, is there a hell that's like worse than hell? It's like, I think, what was it like? Is it maybe like in Dante's Inferno or something like that? If we talk about like the seventh circle of hell or something like that, I don't, you know, that, I mean, that sounds like some extra biblical stuff. I mean, hell is already, that place is going to suck. I don't know. It's like, is there going to be like a maximum, you know, triple maximum security like hell or whatnot? I mean, if hell is their destination, I don't know. I don't want to find out. I don't want to know what could make a worse version of hell. But I think what would make hell, just speculating here, I'm not saying that this is biblical, I'm just speculating. These men will receive greater condemnation. I think the reason why their condemnation is going to be so great, it's not because there's like a worse version of hell or anything like that. I think the thing is that it's going to be such a shocker to them. You know, it's like, whoa, what am I? It's like, it's almost, for lack of a better word, the insult. It's like, I'm here, me, as righteous as I am, I'm in hell. It's like talk about a big gash and pouring salt in that wound. I think that's probably why their condemnation is going to be so much more great. It's not like it's another special hell. It's just that they just thought that, hey, it's a big shock. It's like, I'm here. Wow. Oh, that's a big kick in the teeth, a bigger kick in the teeth than somebody who's just, you know, went to hell and, you know, because there's some people that kind of know that they're rotten. There's some people that know that they really suck. You know, it's like, yeah, whatever. I suck. You know, deal with it. I don't care. You know, but at the same time, they feel justified in how much they suck. Yeah. You know, there are people who are really jerks, and they feel like they owe it to the world to be a jerk because the world deserves it. Yeah. The world deserves my attitude. and I'm doing the world a service by giving it the attitude that it deserves. There are people that are like this. Yeah. You know? And I don't
work in the media.
Yeah. Word. You know? So, anyway, we got through it, y'all. That's 20. Luke 20. We were trucking right along. And